There are a few games I've made that made me question my own moral outlook on things, but Neurobeat was one I didn't plan on. What started out as a simple pitch, psychic cyberpunk cops, slowly devolved into rant against modern cyberpunk, and the rather rampant commercialization of punk as a concept. Being punk was being against the man, at its most basic principle, anyway. But Neurobeat is set in a world where the last punk rocker blew his head off after crashing the economy because corporations decided to make punk a fucking lifestyle brand. It's a cynical game, the kind of detached cynicism that playing an outsider worked for, but an outsider who worked for the man. It didn't help that after some hemming and hawing, I decided to set it in the now rather doomed Neon, a massive super city that was everything wrong with cyberpunk fiction in a single condensed area, a manufactured haven where corporations and the powers that be had more sway over things, and then everything obviously went to hell. The first 30 pages of this game is just lore, my writing to partially justify and partially rant, but you're not here for deep lore. We need to solve crime. At its most basic, it's a dice ladder system with the intent of beating 7 on 1 die, but you'll only ever roll 2 die, your skill die and the chaos of the situation. Due to you being an actually trained officer of the law, when things are going smoothly, you get to have a d20 to succeed, while if things are rapidly falling apart, you may have a D4 or D0. But Notepad, how do I beat a 7 on a D2 or a D6? Each Neurobeat officer has a set of 7 D8 precog die they will pre-roll at the start of an investigation. At any point for any check, you can add your precog die to the die in play. So you may have a 5, so just add one of your precog die to succeed. Officer skills are purposefully off. Instead of something simple, I decided to have them be more esoteric and interpretive in some ways. Instead of intelligence, you have enchiridion. Instead of empathy, mood. Nothing like streetwise, of course, but rat vein. These all play into your well-being. The more of the very limited damage you can take, the less effective you are. However, the more mental damage you take, the far more effective, as your precog die starts to spike. But you're not here for simple things. Each Neurobeat officer is a psychic with a host of powers, the simple two being the chorus and the Trojan horse. The chorus is the ability to read the surface thoughts of those around them. The more people, the harder it is to listen, while the fewer and more private the conversation, the easier it is to detect what they're actually thinking. Mind you, this is always on and cannot be turned off, and everyone on the force also knows it. Distrust is natural toward a Neurobeat officer, even more so when the Trojan horse comes in. If an officer touches someone flesh to flesh, they initiate the Trojan horse, infiltrating their mind, being able to see more personal thoughts and the deep-seated memories they may have. This is all valid in court, by the way, even down to needing a warrant from the UN office to make sure you can actually look into it. Unless they let you in, of course. At no point do you ever need to identify yourself as a Neurobeat officer, just as one of the law. From there, each skill is linked to a different power, forcing you to burn precog die to determine the effectiveness of your abilities, as well as the potentially lethal feedback. Internal dialogue lets you piece together information you have, while its power, dual mind, allows you to open up a completely second line of thought with yourself, splitting your brain power to find the solution. While authority lets you invoke their status and power over others, the imperial voice forces someone to comply with a forceful demand, whether they like to or not. From there, the game is mostly about investigation, using a pretty standardized investigation system, though I really ought to write up the new one Moxie Man inspired. I modeled the investigations in the game itself to be more like a cop show than anything, but rather than the rookie with gunfights every episode, more Law and Order Psychic Asshole Division, where Stabler kicks down your door because he read your mind, you sick fuck. Everything around that core influences it. Just navigating Neom has its own quirks depending on the method and where you're going. Relationships are difficult to manage, but are possible if you want to risk it. Combat is extremely deadly, but you have so many options to get around it or stop it, or just say fuck it and call in a SWAT squad to deal with it for you. Even down to the drugs you're encouraged to huff, inject, or take to make sure you don't have to sleep, feel a bullet wound, or worry about being alive for much longer. But hey, you transfer out in a year. A few investigations, a few lives saved, many more taken, and being passed over for an invitation to the police gala for a cybernetic abomination RoboCop that everyone likes hanging out with instead of you. Neurobeat was a weird project, one I think I could expand upon greatly, but another part of me doesn't really want to at all. It fits in its nice little niche with everything clicking together. At most, I just want to expand the setting out a bit. Maybe I'll use it for the basics of Borzoi when I get around to making it next month. It's available down below, and comments are open as always. My name is Notepad, and this was Neurobeat. And many thanks to the UN officials who continue to fund these misadventures. Godspeed, good luck, and always watch your six.